Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Golf Chat Show Live. Again, we're joined by former European Open champion Andrew Murray on the show, and we've got so many good questions to answer this evening for you. Amongst that, some of the speculation of what might be happening at 7 p.m. Welcome to the show, Andrew.
Yeah, cheers, Alex. Thanks for having me again. It's great. Yeah, I like it. I can quite get into this.
Perfect. Well, I'm enjoying them anyway, and I know we get some good feedback every time we go live, so that's always nice.
Good.
So, first one on our list. Today in the European Tour should be the GolfSixes tournament. Happening in Portugal. Relatively new format on the European Tour. I mean, they even have sometimes a stop shot clock on there as well, where players can't take no longer than 45 seconds, but you can actually see the clock counting down in the background. Now, what do you make of this format of golf?
I think it's really good. I think it's a breath of fresh air. I don't think the guys, and I've not spoken to a lot of them. I've spoken to a few of them. I don't think the guys would want to do it every week. I think it's a really good format because they get different tours involved, didn't they? They had the ladies' tour involved a couple of years ago, I think, as well, alongside the men. I think it's another variation of a stroke play tournament, and I think that's listen, anything that engages more people, then better. I'm definitely going to go with that, and it did engage more people. It engaged a different TV audience, and the purists probably wouldn't like it, but actually, you know what? They've got another few weeks to watch the purists, so let the young guns or the other people that wouldn't otherwise watch a 72-hole stroke play, let them have their day and enjoy some good crack on the course. And I think the shot clock is really good as well.
Yeah. I remember watching it. Was at Centurion Club, the first one they did in the UK.
Yeah, I remember you going, yeah.
And, I remember watching, like, the replay, and it was an American golfer, played, like, Challenge Tour European Tour. I can't remember what his name was now, left-handed. I want to say he won Czech Masters. And it was literally counting down. It was like on 30 seconds and 15 seconds left. They hadn't even pulled a club. Everybody's like, "What are you doing? Like, it's happening. You can go. Like, you've got to go here." And I think he got a penalty. It's like a 2-shot penalty or something for playing outside of it. And I'm just thinking, What are you doing? But from a spectator's point of view, it was like a shot clock on a basketball match or something like that.
Yeah. I think it's quite good. Yeah. Listen, like I said, the players, we are so conditioned as players. And I'm talking about my former life, I know, but you get so into playing the pace you play, and you pick clubs and you look at your chart and you have a conversation with the caddy, and it's 7 on and 4 from the right, and the wind's off the right, and to carry that bunker is whatever. All that information to sort of verbalize and then absorb, and then choose a club, and then the wind, and it's a bit of a fly lie and all that stuff. So all that stuff's got to be calculated in fast forward, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So it's bound to be difficult for the players and the caddies to sort of get back into it. It's a completely different rhythm. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it is. Now, along with those events, Vernon Kay does that stuff where he presents like the hero challenges. Now, I think they're amazing. I'm disappointed they don't do it at more events because, again, that's bringing new people into the game.
Yeah, I think that one of the best ones was the fastest par 5, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's it, where they've got the camera on the ball coming down and the player looking at the ball coming down, anticipating where it's going to finish.
They did a World Cup edition of that where they had like France do it, England do it, and then all the different nationalities.
Yeah, great. Listen, I think it's good. And what is unbelievable is the standard of golf that they play on some of those, because the scoring is just as good on the GolfSixes pretty well as it would have took more time to play. So I'm all for it. I'm all for anything different, really. I really am. I think lockdowns, made us all realise how much we miss golf, hasn't it? I'd really like to see, and a lot of clubs going into lockdown and coming out of lockdown, rather, will be looking at some clubs are choosing not to go tournament golf, competition golf. Some people have scrapped all the board comps and all that stuff. Different clubs have got different takes on it all. And whilst we're in sort of get back into it mode, I'd really like them to play as an experiment, just to play with bigger golf holes. So the winter holes that they go on winter.
Yeah.
Let's put those in the proper greens, and let's put to them, and let's just see if any of us, A, score better, B, putt better, B, enjoy it, or C, enjoy it more, I don't know. No, because nobody's tried it on good surfaces. Everyone plays it on bobbing surfaces.
I bet people enjoy it a lot more, 100%. And it's
Well,
probably
there you go. What?
going
So
to
what? So now it's not quite so serious. It's not handicap counting and all that rubbish. Let's just go on, like, experiment and have a go.
I mean, you said
Encouraging the guys at Lim to try that.
Yeah, because you're consulting for a few golf clubs, aren't you? So
yeah, it's weird how the consultancy thing has sort of it's not, I wouldn't say it's taken off particularly, but I've had five clubs now around about me seek, so it's just another ear. It's not not rocket science, is it? But it's an opinion that's detached from the politics of that particular golf club.
That's the thing.
That's really important. You get, completely, and I've said to everybody, the truth hurts sometimes, and if, I'll just give it as it is, and if that doesn't suit you, well, that's a shout. But there's no reason to, there's no room for BS, is there?
No, definitely not. Just before we go down that avenue, we've got a question coming in from live from YouTube from Paul Birchall saying, Andrew, all golfers are extremely fit. Why aren't they allowed to use buggies other than in playoffs? Surely that would speed up tournament rounds.
All players are, most players are seriously fit. Buggies actually are slower, believe it or not. When by the time you've got a buggy to the, apart from the traffic and the TV coverage, and I don't like buggies, I have to say. I think it upsets my rhythm of stuff. I don't think you visualize the shot the same. You don't feel the wind the same. You don't feel the lie of the land the same. You get to the ball, you've not sort of had a chance to digest what you need to be doing. I don't think it's speed up play particularly. I really don't. I think by the time you've driven round the green or all that stuff, they play on the Champions Tour in America, don't they? On the Seniors Tour, as is in America, and they use buggies. And the caddy drives the buggy round the green and meets the player at the green. And I don't know, it's all a bit disjointed for me, but that's me being a bit of a traditionalist. I'm not saying that we shouldn't try it. I think we ought to try everything. And they do. They don't use buggies in playoffs. They ship the player from green back to tee.
Yeah.
And then they play the hole again. And then if they've got to carry on, they ship them back to tee again on a buggy. That's the only reason you can use a buggy, unless you're going back to play a provisional ball, play a lost ball.
Because I know when I was caddying for your son Tom, like on certain holes, you would get picked up in a buggy as transport from one tee to the next if it was quite a considerably long walk, or it was up a really steep hill, and there is transport in place, stuff like that. But I know from putting the bag on a buggy in a pro-am, it is a pain in the arse. Because I mean, not being very tall, I can't see what clubs sometimes I'm pulling out, and I'm there like this, bringing it up and putting it back down.
No, I'd have to say I don't see there's a place for it. Let's try it. Let's time it. Do the caddies go with the players? Do the caddies drive the buggy and the player jumps out and it's his shot?
Yeah.
And it's not, a 5-iron or a 4-iron. It's 170. I'm not averse to it, but I don't think it speed up play particularly.
So in about 50 minutes' time, we're all eagerly anticipating what is now known as Bojo. Apparently, that's the word on the street of his nickname.
Oh God!
It's going to say what, in your opinion, and just in terms of golf, we know there's things that are bigger than golf right now, but we're watching in terms of golf. What do you think, if anything, will be said?
Well, I think he's got to do something. I think everyone's getting fed up of it now. I think that I know the consequences are dire. The consequences are dire, full stop, which way we go. So I think he's got to get the economy going. But I think in terms of the golf economy, I think golf's got a real good chance of getting back pretty soon. From what I've heard from the various meetings I've been involved in with the PGA and the European Tour and all the guys, they can't conduct what Bojo's going to say. Bojo, that's shocking. I think that it wouldn't surprise me if he gets angling back in and he gets cycling possibly, and he gets golf back in and allows people to get on and play a bit of golf. I think the sooner we get back out on the golf course, the sooner it stops people wandering around parks, and it gets people into sport. other than walking and the odd cycle ride when you're on your own. But I think, and obviously running, obviously a lot of people running now, isn't there? I think, fathers and sons, sons and daughters, mums and daughters, all the people that want to just get out and play golf. I think we might see a bit of a resurgence in golf and a bit more interest in golf, because there's people that I see walking around say, I wish I could get on the course. I'm itching to take my daughter or take my son, because they can't do anything else. They can't go and play cricket. They can't go and play basketball or netball or anything else. So I just hope he does open the courses up and gives the courses the freedom to be able to police themselves. And a lot of courses, are we going to play 3 balls? Are we going to play 4 balls? Let's just get out on the course and try it, and not be frightened of trying it, and not be too what's the word, belligerent about we're going to play 2 balls at 10-minute intervals, end of. Let's just be fluid and move with it a little bit. I know there's moves at some courses to play 4s, some courses to play 3s. Ireland are recommending that if you're playing on your own, you play at 10-minute intervals. I mean, that's the most hospitable, generous, friendly nation in the world, Ireland. Can you imagine anyone wanting to play on their own in Ireland? I don't think so.
Yeah.
So, there's lots to consider. I just hope he lets us get out on the golf course and doesn't restrict us too much. I'd like us all to be able to coach one-to-one safely. Don't think there's any reason that we shouldn't do that.
Yeah, as long as obviously the way in the coach will be slightly different.
Yeah, I think your coaching is going to be slightly different. I think we've got plans both at Lim and at Didsbury to put 2-meter bays, with paint bays on the practice ground, and just trust people to stay in their own space. You can't do much more than that apart from hold the hand all the way through every bit of process. So just give them a little bit of slack, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely. Got another question from YouTube for you here, Andrew. This is coming from Andrew Roberts. Evening. What are Andrew's views on what restart might mean for traditional structured golf clubs and the change of the historical order of play throughout the week? So, for example, I think it was sort of referring to, like, say, Men's Day, Ladies' Day.
Yeah. Let's just have a golf club, shall we?
Yeah.
And then you can be a member of the golf club and play pretty well when you can get a start time. There's going to be a lot of conjecture. I know that at Didsbury and at Lim and all the traditional clubs around me, there's going to be ladies' days and men's days. That's all got to be just put on the back burner. Let's just go play. A lot of the seniors, I think they're going to have the nose pushed out of joint a little bit, because the seniors predominantly at one course or another might play on a Wednesday morning. Actually, think about all those guys on furlough. There's going to be a lot of people that aren't able to work, aren't at work, being made redundant. All those guys that normally are at work are going to be wanting to play golf on a Wednesday morning when the seniors think that they own the place. So
yeah.
I think there's going to be a very changing world. And I think at some busy clubs, I know Bramhall, for instance, I was talking to the guys at Bramhall the other day, they've had a fantastic response with renewal of memberships. Pretty well all the members have rejoined, which is fantastic. Test how good they are. And the same at a couple of other local clubs. And I think it'll be interesting to see who wants to play more than twice a week or what, because everyone can't play all the time, can they?
No, definitely not. But I think it'll be a good opportunity for some golf clubs to get booted into the 21st century. And just,
I think let's drop the gender stuff. Let's get all inclusive. Let's get the kids playing with the mums and dads, and let's just be a little bit more tolerant to the fact that we're members of the golf club, but we're not inferior because we're junior members or lady members or older members or younger members.
Now, you've got ties to Turnberry, you're an ambassador up there. Now, that's part of a hotel. Will that mean that opens at a slightly different pace, potentially?
Well, funnily enough, I was talking to the guys up there this morning, and I can't wait to get up there. The first thing I'm going to do, but I say that, but of course, Nicola Sturgeon, in her wisdom, has decided that they may lock down a little bit longer. So she's going to keep the lid on golf longer than we are going to here, by the sounds of it. I'm guessing a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's going to be really frustrating, because you can live one side of the border. I mean, Turnberry's an hour from Dumfries, probably, thereabouts. So you're not a million miles away from the border. One side of the border you can play golf, hopefully a week on Monday or 2 weeks on Monday, and north of the border you might not be able to play golf for another month, which is really frustrating when the world's best golf courses are up there, or some of, and I want to go and play Turnberry anyway.
I want to go and play.
Well, we've got to do our shoot up there, haven't we, soon?
Oh, definitely.
As and when. But and the hotel, of course, that's another issue altogether. The golf course will open as and when it's given the go-ahead to open. They've got all sorts of plans in place to open. It just probably will mean that the hotel opens as and when it is allowed to, which might be looking at early June by the looks of it.
I mean, a place like that, though, it is well renowned throughout the world. In the top 10 in the world, didn't we?
Well, yeah, it's certainly in the top 1 in the world, anyway.
But what my point is, a lot of people travel from overseas to come there, don't they?
Yeah.
So it might actually give people who live in the local area maybe a bit more opportunity to play such a fantastic place.
Yeah, I mean, I think I touched on this last week. I think that all those great places, and the less great places too, of course. There's lots of great places that aren't quite so big and posh and expensive as Turnberry and Troon and all those great courses up and around. Some of them will go members only because they don't want the visitors and they want to give their members the course back for a month maybe. Some of them, like Turnberry, like St Andrews, St Andrews is a public course, so there's probably very few American visitors, in fact, no American visitors, and probably very few visitors from the Far East. So those big courses that have been notoriously difficult to get onto for the likes of you and I and Andy Roberts and all the guys that are listening from all over the place, there's going to be much more opportunities to play them, no question.
Definitely.
Now's your chance, I'd say.
Definitely. Just going back to what we were saying before about members, Kev Ray put, I agree with what we're saying, but he said, what about 7-day working members who can actually, because they're still working at the minute, only play during the weekend? They may not get a tee time because they've not got the flexibility.
Well, yeah, I think the clubs have got to look at all that, Kevin, and I think that I think a lot of clubs are really looking at this because they've got to look after the members first, and certainly the members that have put their hand in the pocket and kept the club going for the last 2 months against the grain a bit in some ways. I think they've just got to get a tee sheet system that gives the likes of Kevin, the opportunity to book 1 or 2 top start times a week, and that I think we restrict every member to 2 start times a week for the first 2 weeks, and let's just see what happens. We might be over egging this. We might be under egging it. I don't know.
So Rob Potter just put here, Turnberry or St Andrews for his 40th birthday in July. Hopefully we can go and play them. Where are we saying there? Where are we saying? St Andrews or Turnberry?
Oh, Turnberry. No question. I've got to say that as a brand ambassador for the place. St Andrews is very special. It's a very atmospheric place. It's the most fantastically interesting place. The golf course, they've got fantastic golf courses all around St Andrews, apart from the 7 St Andrews courses. There's places like Crail and Ely and the new place Dumbarney and Kings Barnes, obviously. All fantastic golf courses. The Dukes at St Andrews. There's a load around there that are really world-class golf courses. Turnberry's got 2 of the best courses on in the country anyway. And there's lots of others around about it. Girvan, I believe, is quite nice. I've not yet played it. But there's all those other places up Western Gales and Glasgow Gales and Troon and Barassi and all those places up that west coast overlooking Arran, which is spectacular.
Fantastic. I mean, I can 100% vouch for Turnberry. You were good enough to sort me some time there to film in February last year, which feels like decades ago right now.
It's like another world away, isn't it?
Oh, it's crazy. Even if I just go back to thinking the week before we went lockdown, I was actually in Portugal doing some filming, and that feels like I felt like I shouldn't even been doing that. Like knowing all this now.
I know.
Going back to tournament golf, and I find this question that we've got now really interesting. What will tournaments look like after lockdown? Will caddies and players have to stay together because they're working together? Now, notoriously, caddies and players don't tend to stay together, do they? They tend to either have their own rooms, or caddies share with caddies, players share with players, or at the top of the tree, players stay in penthouses and stuff like that.
Yeah. Listen, the top of the tree, they probably wouldn't normally stay together. They try and just go their separate ways and have a bit of space from each other, I think, at the end of the day. I don't know is the honest answer to that, how we're going to deal with this. The caddy is such an integral part of the team. You only have to look at Team Fleetwood and see how close Ian Finnis is to Tommy. That it wouldn't surprise me if those guys just get an apartment and share an apartment. Once they've got, I suppose, once they're locked down together, then they can go and do what they like, can't they? They're almost become the same household again. I think it's a very interesting one how the tours are going to manage the getting back onto playing golf behind closed doors. Effectively, it's going to be very, very strange for players. It's a very different landscape for everybody. Listen, not just golf, for football, for all professional sport, really, let alone the economy.
I had Steve Brotherhood on Friday, who caddies for David Horsey and David Howell.
Yeah.
He was saying that there is potentially talk of players playing a tournament without caddies. I mean, obviously, as a caddy's point of view, he wouldn't want that to happen. But he was like, well, why wouldn't players go and play without a caddy? I mean, if they're going to play for £1 million or whatever it is, they're not going to turn it down, are they? They're going to go and play.
No. Listen, I've always said this: if there was a tournament on the moon, you'd get a field.
Yeah.
Wanted to go and play. So mercenaries, maybe just professional sportsmen. That's the way it is. I think if it meant carrying your own bag, or I think people would go and play. I don't think there's any question about that. They love the game. They're not born to play the game, but they've created the opportunity to play golf at the highest level. If it was necessary, if those were the new rules, I think everyone would. I'd certainly go and ask Tom. I mean, Tom would. He'd run round if it was necessary. If that was the rules. So they just want to get out playing. It'll be interesting to see whether they use buggies or they don't use buggies. If that was considered, there's all the hygiene of buggies, the sanitization of buggies, and all that stuff. It's a bit of a nightmare. I'd just get them carrying their own bag.
Yeah. The thing that I thought as well, if they're going to say, for example, test them at the start of the week and then maybe at the weekend, or test them before every tournament. Say you're leading and you get tested, you feel fine, but the test comes back positive. You're like, whoa, no, I can go and play here. Like, so many things that I just can't see. I mean, obviously, we'd all love for it to come back on TV and behind closed doors if that's necessary. But with the European Tour being basically a global tour, unlike the PGA Tour, which stays a little bit more on one continent, you could actually drive around, whereas European Tours dotted around everywhere. I mean, I just can't see it happening.
The other dilemma is, how do they get players from different parts of the world to get to the tournament in the first place? Because if you're coming from, I don't know, if you're coming from South Africa, or you're coming into Madrid and have to quarantine for however long, there is talk of them going into one part of the country and playing and staying together, and then going off north and south and playing consecutive 3-round events. So that has been muted. I know that's been muted. So you play three 3-round events back to back, and you all stay in the one central hotel. Caddies in one and players in the other.
But say worst case scenario, say someone got it. Like, because that's going on the premise that every single player is going to interact and potentially be in the space of everybody. Like,
well, I mean, the very fact of courtesy cars getting to and from the course, from the hotel, I mean, it's a minefield, isn't it? And there's is it 5-day incubation period anyway? So
it is, yeah.
So I think if my recollection of the science it's 7 weeks ago, was that you could have it and not know about it and not test positive for 3 or 4 or 5 days. So I might be wrong there before any scientists start phoning. I'm sure that's right. In which case, I just don't see how it can work.
I mean, obviously, we all hope it does. And then obviously you've got the Masters being moved to November. We've got the Ryder Cup at the end of the year. There's so many tournaments that, and also this is another point that was made aware on Friday, that all the guys in America are still able to go and practice, still able to go and play. Those boys are going to have a massive advantage
over everybody. Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable, isn't it? I know the guys in Sweden have been playing, but how many on the global tour are living in Sweden? Not many. Is every state able to play golf in America? I don't think it's free, is it?
I've got a friend who lives in New York, but he can drive out state to upstate New York or out the state and go and play. So he can drive out of like lockdown zone to a different state and go and play, which I find crazy. I mean, he's doing it. He's playing on his own. He's not near anybody, so he's keeping safe. But the idea of being able to hop from one state to the next, and the guys who live maybe in Florida, they all live in Jupiter, don't they? The top guys, they're going to be able to go and play golf probably.
Yeah, they're all playing golf now. You see the Instagram stuff. I know your golf travel, obviously, they take 900 people to the Masters, or were supposed to take 900 people to the Masters this last April. Obviously, that didn't happen, and I know that they're itching to get some spectators at the Masters. Yeah. The Masters want spectators at the Masters, by the way, as well. So, where does that fit? You know, our crowd's going to get back by November. You know, is it going to be a global audience? Is it going to be? I know there's some great deals to go, by the way, at the moment.
Yeah, I'm seeing them.
If you want to go to the Masters, a little bit less expensive than it normally is, this November's the one to go to. Yeah. So, listen, it's a minefield, full stop, isn't it? But let's just pray that your pal Bojo allows us out just to hit some balls. Just be nice to go and walk around. I've got a couple of juniors wanting to have a playing lesson, and I've got people I want to go and play with, mates. I want to go and play with my brother. I want to go and play with my son. It's frustrating for us all, isn't it?
That's Boris Johnson, everybody, by the way, for slang.
Oh yeah, yeah. Your version, not mine.
We've got another question here. Keith McIntosh came in from earlier, I think, when we were talking around people who work full time and being able to play. He put interesting comments about having flexibility. Bear in mind, seniors over 70 with medical conditions may not be able to return to play for some time. What about that?
Well, yeah, I mean that's yet another one to throw in the ring, isn't it? I think again that is, and I might be wrong there, but I know Andy Roberts has been doing loads at LIM with all the guys there about health and safety and risk assessments and stuff. And some courses are taking this more seriously than others, by the way. I think it's down to the club to, once that Boris says we can or we can't play, I think that's down to the clubs to decide on their own rules within their own sections. I think don't take that as gospel, but I think that some clubs are taking it upon themselves to say, if you feel fit enough, let's just go and play.
Because like I was saying before,
as long as everyone's socially distanced, then I think they get on and play. That's what I would do if it was me. But then, I'm slightly blasé, but not blasé. I'm just not as on it as some people want to be, I suppose.
Yeah, it's like my grandma. She's in her 70s, but she's going out and having a walk. Like, she lives up in Glossop. She's going out for an hour, not seeing anybody, going walking around the block, and she's like, she needs that to keep herself sane. And there'll probably be a lot of guys, maybe late 70s, early 80s, that play golf week in, week out, that in normal life or outside of lockdown keeps them going. It's their spot.
Entirely. Apart from anything else, by the way, what about mental health?
Yeah.
What about their mental health? Because many of them are living on their own. Their only interaction is down at the club. They're busy buzzing around the club, and they get involved in the fours and the roll ups and all that stuff at their clubs. That is part of their well-being, their mental well-being, as well as their physical. So, for me, I just think it's really important to get us out on the golf course. Really do. Then I would say that, wouldn't I?
Yeah, I would as well.
Yeah. Because we're all a bit biased, and that's fine. That's as long as we recognise that. That's fine.
Well, in 30 minutes' time, we might have a little bit more news.
Oh God! A little bit of clarity. Just something. Just a bit of light at the end of the tunnel. Just to I just feel everyone's going a bit stir crazy now.
I mean, your daughter Hannah, she's on the front line, isn't she? So she's seen this firsthand now. And what's she saying about it?
Well, I've spoken to her a few times, but I've not seen her much, obviously. Well, she's not seen as many cases. They're definitely not as busy. She's not. She's a radiographer, so she's not seeing totally COVID only patients now, which is what she was 3 weeks, 4 weeks ago, at the peak. So she feels that it's getting that it's plateaued out and on the way down. But the scientists are telling us that anyway. So she's just super vigilant. I mean, she won't come around here for a distance cup of tea on the path. So she's keeping herself very much to herself, her and Alex, and quite rightly too. You know, they're okay for stepping in with PPE. She's struggled. I think they've struggled through. In a piece of cake all the time, but yeah. Very proud of all those people, and it's not just, you know, it's the key workers, it's the carers, it's the drivers, it's the people that work in the supermarkets. All those. It's not just the NHS, is it? That's not
no. It's
that are delivering all the stuff to the supermarkets so we can get fresh food and all the rest of it. So and the chemists and, you know, all the necessary people. But it's been a great spirit. I think it's got everyone a bit more together as well. I think it's been a
100%. I mean, I would walk down the road today, and everybody walks past each other, going, "Oh, hi, how are you?" Now, before all those people, like I'm usually one of the people that does say hello or like, "Oh, goes thanks," but most people that I see do that. They look at you like, "Why did you say hello to me?" Like, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Whereas now,
but you know what? Half the time you're driving past them in the car.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, I've had more conversations at the front of my house in the last 6 weeks than I've ever had in the last 15 years of living here.
Yeah.
It's been quite refreshing. The VE Day celebrations and all that stuff was quite a community spirit. So listen, let's just hope that all those people that have kept the golf clubs going, and we've got to make sure. The other thing I think it's important, Alex, that if we do get let off the leash and we do get to play, not forgetting that everyone's seen pictures of the courses looking fantastic in the brilliant weather, and there will be a bit of management of their expectations here, because the courses, I've been down at 2 or 3, and close up, they're not as good as they look from far away.
Yeah.
So the quality of the growth isn't quite there yet, because we had such a dry spell in April, didn't we? And then, you know, the weather's, whilst it's been great the last few days, you know, it's not just going to spirit the grass to grow. So the quality of the greens they're going to have to just look after the plant, look after the health of the plant, and get greens going slowly. So they look nice and stripy, but I think people don't expect them to be Augusta.
Yeah, I had Paul Roberts, who's the head greenkeeper at Holyhead, on the show actually. And
did you?
Yeah, and he was saying, because he heard a few people saying, "Oh, it should be amazing," and he saw a tweet of people saying they should be amazing, and he said, "Well, actually, for where he's working, it is just him. Everybody else has been furloughed. So one day he's doing greens, one day he's doing fairways, one day he's doing this. So, and he's like you said there, people just got to manage their expectations. Is the first and foremost, you back out, and it's not going to be like Augusta. But how long do you think it'll take golf clubs to get back to being in a better position? Because surely, if we're allowed back out to play, that means green staff potentially could come back off furlough.
That's not going to increase the revenue of the club, though.
No, that's true.
Which is really important, because the club's revenue through the bar and through the catering and through the pro shop is going to be pretty well untouched. You're only servicing the members and their guests. That's if your club take guests, that is. Some clubs will choose not to do that for the first month, I suppose. So there will be, most of them have been on skeleton staff, haven't they? Most of them, I know the guys at Lynn, they've had two people in, they've worked different shifts in terms of, they've had different lunch hours have been different, they've had brew times have been different, they've kept their distance, one's been cutting greens, one's been mowing fairways, and they've hardly seen each other. And the guys they've all been saying, you know, they're going nearly potty, because they've had a conversation all the whole shift. They've not had a conversation with anybody. So the skeleton staff, and obviously it's I think the expression was maintenance. routine maintenance, I think it was, certainly feeding greens and putting fertilizer and doing all the stuff that they try and do to encourage growth. A lot of places didn't happen. So we have just got to be patient. If we get back to full staff in a month, maybe. The guys, I think they've got three at Didsbury, and soon to be 4 possibly. So Didsbury will be looking in decent shape as well. They'll all be fine. Just the weather.
We've got a good comment here from John Buffalo. He said it'd be a good time for people to volunteer at the club. Now, I know you said you've had quite a lot at Lim, haven't you? You've been one of them that just been making sure it's safe for people. People aren't doing certain things, obviously doing it from a distance. But I think there'll be quite a resurgence in people being volunteers at the club doing it.
Yeah, I hope so. I know that the guys, I'm talking of Lim only, but I'm talking at Didsbury as well. I went up to Didsbury to cut the practice ground last week. My brother and
how was your job, by the way? Did you do it well or not?
I did it. I tell you what, stripes like like the creases in your trousers they were. I know I did a decent job, I think. Listen, it took me an hour and a bit, but it was taking one of the greenkeepers an hour and a bit as well. So it gave him the opportunity to do something else. Thursday, my brother, another pal of mine, Jonathan, and I, we volunteered and we were digging bunkers out in the practice area just to try and get them. And that was hard because the bunker was like concrete.
Yeah.
And that was hard work. So we all did an hour's worth of volunteering. That was 3 hours worth of greenkeepers time we saved. Somebody else was painting the patio furniture at Didsbury when I arrived. So, 2 people who are doing that. I know there's a guy, Frank at Lim, who's been doing all the wooden furniture, taking it home, painting it, treating it, bringing it back again, being out on the course at all sorts of times of the day and night, painting the sheds and all that stuff. So I think a lot of people are going to do their bit. And John's right. People have got a little bit of time, more than they probably normally have. Go and give your club a bit of a helping hand.
Yeah,
Get on that tractor.
Pardon? I lost you then.
Get on that tractor.
I don't think I do as good a job as you, though. That's what I'm worried about. I've been cutting the lawn out the back here, and it's terrible.
I think the other thing is that the social distancing thing is going to need volunteers because you're going to have a starter now. The pro shop's not going to be able to. There's only be, if the pro shop's open, 1 in, 1 out of the pro shop. Maybe they keep that ticking over. I hope. And somebody's got to man the first tee, and somebody's probably got to marshal the course to make sure that everybody is, for the first week or 2, doing what they should be doing.
Yeah. John Tuff just put one here. I wonder how municipal golf courses will manage and any actions after lockdown. Tee times, for example, because they rely on purely maybe no members, nothing like that, and it's just all purely green fees.
Yeah, I think. I think golf's not in a great place. It has to be said. Golf clubs aren't in a great place. I supported something the other day. I don't know whether you saw it. The Cavendish Golf Club, one of Alistair Mackenzie, one of the great designers of golf courses. He designed Cavendish up in Buxton, and I've never played there. Everyone keeps telling me how great it is. Never played there, and they had a crowdfunding exercise to try and raise some funds because they're struggling because they've come out of such a terrible winter, and they're reliant, I would say, on a lot of societies, a lot of visitors, and the restrictions that brings and the revenue that brings to every club, not just Cavendish, every other club, is obviously has more impact on some clubs than others, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Listen, let's just be patient, and all of us give our clubs a bit of a helping hand.
Final question, and then we've got that important announcement in 20 minutes' time. I know I've taken more of your time than I should do.
No, not at all.
Favourite food to eat on the golf course? Because this, for me, is where a lot of club golfers go wrong. They get to like the 14th, 15th hole. Oh, my game went off. I've got no energy. But they've not had any water. They've not had anything to eat. And I know from when I caddied for Tom, we used to go through some food on the golf course. What did you eat? What was your go-to?
Listen, Mars bars. No.
You meant to say like fruit and nut or something.
No, it probably was Mars bars when I was playing. But I mean, I'm relatively careful. I'm not, that diligent, but I'm pretty good about what I eat these days. I think that bananas, fruit, nuts, are all the stuff that everybody tends to use now. Certainly the nuts and raisins, bananas, they travel actually reasonably well. I know that quite a lot of people are into protein shakes and stuff. I just think that water. I remember playing with a doctor in Switzerland 30 years ago, and he said it was about 95 degrees, and this guy said it was in a pro-am, and he said, Andrew, he said, you're not drinking enough. You're not eating enough and not drinking enough. I said, I've just had a drink on the third tee. He said, no, he said, in this temperature, you ought to be taking something on board every other hole, whether you like it or not.
Really?
And feeding your brain. And he said, and I've always remembered that because it stuck with me. And I thought, he said, even if it's a sip of water, have something, even if whether you want it or not. And I think that's quite a good thing, really, because hunger is dehydration mostly.
Yeah.
A lot of people. So if you make yourself have a sip of water every 2 holes or every 3 holes, bananas, I think, are my bit of a staple diet on the golf course, I think. And Jaffa cakes are always pretty good, though.
Peanut butter sandwiches for me. Or
peanut butter. That's all right if you like peanut butter. It's one thing.
Yeah. Thanks so much for your time tonight, Andrew.
No problem.
We're going to have some news that we will be reacting to potentially this week anyway.
Well, let's manage expectations. We're all anticipating he's going to say something and unlock us. What if he doesn't? Then we're going to feel what we're going to talk about then.
But nothing more. They'll be like, welcome back.
Listen, let's do the same thing again next week if you can, and let's discuss tactics.
Perfect. So same time next week, guys. Andrew will be back between 5 and 7 p.m. We'll let you know on the day what time we're going to be going live. Thanks so much for joining us tonight, and thanks again, Andrew.
All right, pleasure. Thanks everybody for listening in and supporting you as well, Alex. All the best.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Great, that Drew.
All right.